Irene.
Okay. Our mission, Helping Parents Heal, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non religious background, and allow for open dialogue. Attendance today at this meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. However, these Zoom meetings are very helpful to parents all around the world, and they are posted on YouTube so that affiliate members who are not able to attend these live meetings can also watch. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Welcome, everyone, and welcome, Jon. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, welcome, Jon. And before Jon speaks, I just want to let all of you know, I think this might be the first time that we've had a caring listener speak. Jon is one of our group of 28 caring listeners that we have with Helping Parents Heal. These are parents who have gone down the healing path a little bit farther than the rest of us, and they reach a hand back to help others forward. And we have caring listeners from all over the country and actually the world. We have 8 languages that are spoken by our caring listeners, and they're free of charge. And their page is on the website. I'm always really surprised because that was the one thing that I needed most when Morgan passed, was to be able to talk to someone who understood. And we don't have a lot of people calling. Some of our caring listeners are very, very busy, but I just want everyone to know that it is free of charge. You can go on to the page and look at the different caring listeners and see if any of them resonate with you. But we are here to listen, and it is something that I think is such a wonderful tool. So please take advantage of it. And I'm going to go ahead and just introduce Jon very quickly. Jon raised his 2 sons, Jon and Michael, as a single parent. And in December of 1990, 2 days after his 17th birthday, Michael was involved in a hit and run that left him in a coma that resulted in his passing 8 days later. During these days of confusion and severe emotional trauma, Jon had people that he never met reach out to him and offer everything from simple friendship to a kind listening ear if he felt like talking. Had it not been for these caring persons offering their compassion, his road to dealing with the terrible loss of his son would have been unbearable. After all these years, he can still feel Michael's presence in everything he does. To be able to share his story with others who have suffered the same loss is so healing, and it allows Jon to feel normal in his emotions when he hears others share their loss. Jon believes that Helping Parents Heal gives us hope, which is one of the most needed and important gifts that any of us can receive. And so, without further ado, please welcome Jon Rooks.
Hi, everybody. Really nice to meet everybody. I wish we could meet in a different way, but this is what we get to do together with each other. Um, Briefly, Elizabeth was saying, is when I lost Michael, I was a single parent. It was a hit and run. Michael was a straight A student and everything that you would hope for in a child. And elderly driver just made a tragic mistake. As a single parent, I was the one that had to go in and sign the paperwork to have him removed from life support. Um, but again, during this time of extreme trauma, I had total strangers stopping by my house, offering just compassion and unconditional love, which is an awful lot of what I really enjoy about helping parents heal. It's a safe place to be able to talk uh, without worrying about people condemning you for the way you feel. I felt extreme sadness, emotional pulling, a lack of faith. Everything went out the door when I lost Michael. Um, but I was able to hang on to the fact that I knew that there were people out there that did care. Um, Michael was a junior in high school. He had established the first peer counseling group in his high school. And what he would do is he would go in, I didn't find all this out until after his accident, but he would go into scenes where it was kind of chaotic. People were getting ready to fight or just argue and bicker. He would get an ability to go in and start people talking in a rational way. And before they knew it, all of a sudden they were talking and Michael would leave. So he earned the nickname Ghost uh, because he never wanted credit. And you can see a lot of the similarities in my story that I feel with this group. He never wanted credit for helping people. He just wanted to be there for them and see what he could do. Um, I knew that after all the years I went through after his death, uh, that I wanted to do something at some point in my life to honor his memory in a different way than I had been trying to. So 8.5 years ago, I began volunteering for a trauma and crisis response organization. Um, this type of a group, I've got notes, so if you see me looking to the side, my eyes aren't that good, so I'm going to be looking to the side. 8.5 years, this group, we get called out by first responders when typically when someone has died or other types of trauma. And that requires our volunteers, including me, to actually be at the scene of the tragedy within 20 minutes of getting the call. So over the past 8.5 years, I have been on somewhere around 500 in-person calls. Uh, Unfortunately, a good 20-25% of them involve children. The calls that I've been on are anywhere from medical issues to traffic accidents to suicides, SIDS, um, homicides, uh, just the whole gamut. And what I found is that there is just no face to grief. Grief is, there's a lot of similarities with how people feel when we lose a child. And as I'm talking, you'll hear me refer to Michael in the present tense because he is very much alive in my life. So you'll hear me. I do believe all of our children are alive inside of us and available to us. Um, so with all these calls that I've been on, I decided to get some training, and I've been through a lot of training on how to better help people. What I've found is that all the training I have, it doesn't take the place of the best tool available. And the tool that I'm talking about is the tool that we're all using right now. It's being with each other. There is no better tool, in my opinion, than being with each other and being able to share our stories. You might think after 30 years, I'm tired of sharing my story, or I don't get tired of talking about my son. I love him. And keeping that love alive is one of the things that this group helps me do, along with my other volunteering. So I'm not a trained professional. I don't pretend to have any medical experience. I don't claim to be a counselor. I'm not. But part of what I've learned are some of the tools. And I kind of go over those very, very briefly with you. If you have questions that you would like to ask right away and you don't want to wait until the question and answer time, please let me know through the chat box or any other method. I'm happy to stop. I have just certain high notes that I've got to talk about, but I don't have it in any set order because we're all talking together differently. and you may react differently. The three basic components that I work with is uh, healing the entire body, which involves the physical, the emotional or mental, and then the spiritual. I found that without having a balance between these three things, healing and good mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, very difficult if you don't balance one with the other. So when I'm talking about physical health, it's maybe I'm developing an ulcer from my grief. Maybe it's heart murmurs. Maybe it's an ongoing medical issue. So we go see a doctor and talk about how I'm feeling, which is what I did many, many years ago. They can prescribe medications. Maybe they can see that the brain is producing an excess of a certain type of hormone, which is affecting our ability to reason and um, to think rationally. So from there, from the physical, I go to the emotional side. The emotional is, we can go to professionals, we can go to groups like this one, but it could be psychiatrist, it could be a therapist, it could be any number of tools. I don't think any one tool works for everybody. So what I like to do is, and what I've done for myself, is I'd like to load my toolbox with different tools that I found work for me. Um, so that's really my object, is to have enough tools that I can rely on, and depending on how I feel at the time. Then the third thing is the spiritual. Speaking for myself, when I lost my son, I had no use for spiritual thoughts. I thought I'd been abandoned. Um, and I was quite honestly very mad. And I found out it's okay to be mad. It's part of the healing process for us to go through. Um, doesn't matter if your loss is recent or your loss is 30 years ago. We all are allowed to do and feel the way that we want to. Uh, so So the goal that I use and what I do, I'm also one of the directors of my group. So I have the privilege of helping train people to be responders. The main goal that I have is to be able to empower people to act on the tools that they find work for them. I don't want people to become reliant on my group as the sole way to start healing from grief. Um, we each got to find the way that works for us. If we start becoming reliant on just one source, it can work. For me, it simply doesn't. I have to have different sources, depending how I'm feeling. That's another reason why this group is so important to me, is that it gives me that opportunity. With so many meetings going on, I can tune into a meeting. I can do some other things that help me deal with my ongoing grief. Um, the grief for me after 30 years is still there. And I don't believe in telling stories to people. It still hurts. I think the difference now between now and when I started this journey was I've decided to make that hurt and that grief part of my life rather than externalizing it. It's mine. I can take ownership of it. And then by having the availability to volunteer with this group and then other groups, I get a way to keep my son alive. Um,
Could I ask you a question? We do have a question. Susan's asking, how do you remain connected after all of these years? I'm afraid after a while, I won't experience the signs and sensations that I currently have on a regular basis.
yeah, good question, Susan. Thank you. I do believe in signs. I believe in any source that we can use to stay connected to our children. Um, there's different outlets, different organizations that you can go to, mediums, spiritual counseling, medical doctors, others. So I stay connected by doing my best which is an ongoing process, to recognize that my son is alive in me. It could be the formation of a cloud. Now, I'm not saying my son came down and formed this cloud for me, but what it is for me, it's recognizing the beauty in life, and that's why I stay connected to my son. It could be a song. Songs or music is very important to me. Um, I don't have a set type of music I listen to. I give myself the okay to listen to different types of music. Some of the different songs will hit me. I'll go, wow, that's my son. Oh yeah, he liked that sport. Or uh, so I stay connected by trying to just remember that he is alive in everything that I see and everything that I look at and every person I talk to. I see him alive in all of you, which may sound a little strange, but I do. Uh, so it's a learned process. Uh, Beyond just being a learned process and something that we all get to go through, that's really how I stay connected.
Could you tell us a little bit about how you feel that he stays alive and actually came to you through your beautiful dog that helps you, your service dog? I don't know if you call it a service dog or an emotional support dog.
Yeah.
And what's her title?
Well, her name is Misty, and she is both a service dog and an emotional support therapy dog. The difference being a service dog is trained for one individual for usually one specific ailment. In my case, heart murmurs and panic attacks. She's been trained for that, and fortunately, I don't get those very often anymore. But then a therapy dog is specifically trained to bring happiness to people. So I utilize her on some of my calls, especially if we have children involved. We'll take Misty up with us to a school, and she will intuitively go up to the person that's most stressed out and just lay on their lap or put her head on their shoulder. Um, I've used her in many hospitals. We pre-COVID visited Children's Hospital locally, and it's just amazing to watch what an animal can do to start opening up conversation. So amazing. She's just an amazing part. One of the hospitals we work with, we use her to be able to reach emotionally shut down people that are suffering. People will talk to a dog that won't talk to another person.
That's beautiful. Yes, and I think that so many of us have had these fur babies come into our lives after our kids have passed, and we know intuitively, obviously, that this is a gift from our children. Did
Mhm.
you have Misty before Michael passed, or did you get
No,
so after? Yeah.
yeah, I got Misty afterwards. I had was not on call on my group one day, and I got a call. I was at my gym working out, and I had Misty with me, and they needed a backup, so I took Misty with me to the hospital. And the therapist was there, already had a dog, but she had to leave, so I boldly picked Misty up and walked into the emergency room like I owned the place. And I noticed that as I was talking to this woman, uh, every time she started petting Misty, I could hear and watch her blood pressure and her heart rate come down and conversation open up. When she would stop petting Misty, it became more difficult for me to talk with her. So I use her as a tool. It doesn't work all the time with all people, but it's one of those tools in my toolbox that I use.
That's amazing. And so, one of the things that I loved about you when I first talked to you was that you just recognize, probably as much as I do, that being able to help others helps us even more. And maybe if you could talk to that a little bit, that would be wonderful.
Mhm. I think that there's, with me and others, there is so much of a misunderstanding about people who've lost children. I know that initially when people would start telling me about, this is how you should heal and things, um, I kind of forgot your question already. I'm sorry.
So I'm saying that for me, I feel that being
Oh,
able
yeah.
to do these things that you do
Yeah.
help me even more.
Yes.
Maybe you could just tell a little bit about, I think that that's
Yeah.
actually part of the healing process, is to
Yeah.
be able to reach that hand back
Mhm.
and help somebody forward.
Yeah, for me, being able to reach back and tell my story to people, it doesn't get old for me. It actually becomes newer. It actually helps me keep my son alive inside of me and outside of me. There was a lot of shame at first, and I didn't want to freak people out. And I found that groups like ours, this is a place that I don't have to have any of those. So a lot of the shame and the guilt for what I should have, could have done is disappearing. I don't know that it'll ever go away totally, but I can deal with it now. I'm proud of my son. I'm proud to be his dad, and to let other people know. I pray every time I talk to someone, whether it's in person or in a group like this, that if I am giving out 25% of how I feel from talking to people, then I've been successful in what I'm trying to do. So these people that came to visit me and other people, they gave me hope, and that keeps my son alive by telling his story willfully, without regrets.
That's beautiful. Yes, and it's true that being able to tell your son's story, to have people understand that you've been through the same thing, is always wonderful for us as well. But I also just have to say that I feel these kids constantly. In this meeting, I feel like their energy is always just so excited and so happy that we are together and that we're able to talk about them and share about them. Fern is saying, I have my daughter's dog, and he has turned into the best therapy dog in the world for us. He brings smiles to us when we had nothing to smile about. I think she is in him, which I think that's interesting, because we had someone speaking a couple nights ago, and she was saying, not necessarily in that animal, but definitely helping that animal to communicate with you and to help that animal heal you, which is really, really important. And our little tiny teacup Yorkie, having 4 dogs at the time, we decided we had to get this teacup Yorkie the same day that Morgan left for Tibet. And he passed away 2 days later, and I don't know what I would have done without this Yorkie that we ended up naming Captain, because Morgan was nicknamed Captain in high school. So let's see, Joan is asking, I would love to do something in the community, but how do you go about it, especially during COVID? And that's true. I mean, that's not an easy thing. So what is it that you are able to do right now, Jon, in terms of helping others with this COVID?
We're able to do a lot of Zoom type trainings. We're able to talk with people over the phone. I've had a couple of calls come in today that I've referred over to volunteers, where the circumstance allowed for very safe social distancing, because it happened outside, and it was safe for my volunteer to make that decision to go. In a lot of cases, though, we have to do it remotely over the phone. I don't prefer it at all. I'm a touchy-feely kind of person. I like to be able to see people, hug people if that's what they would like to, if that's what helps comfort them. But still, that person's voice on the phone, being there right when you need them, there's nothing better. There's no technique I've ever learned that's better than hearing another human being who cares. So we do the best we can. Pray that COVID runs its course here pretty soon, but doesn't mean we can't stop helping each other.
Well, and then Carrie is saying, and I think that this is true too, not every person is able to hear about our kids visiting. I recently had a friend tell me in the past, whenever I would talk about the visits I would get, She worried that I was going to be judged. She then told me about her own visits from a loved one and how it helped her understand that Carrie wasn't crazy. And it's true that one of the great things about this group, and again, one of the great things about the caring listeners, is that we can talk and never, ever be judged because we are all going through the same thing. We're experiencing the same thing and we totally understand. And I think that one of the things that I've learned on this journey is that I never ever say that I don't believe anything. I mean, there's just so much new information that I've learned on this journey. And so people could tell me pretty much anything and I would believe it. Any signs that these kids are sending, any changes in our own life, but so many of these things that are happening are really positive. And that's something that I think everybody has to understand, that this isn't all sadness. There's a lot of excitement and things that we never would have explored or looked at before this happened. Do you feel that way as well, Jon?
Absolutely. It's a timing thing. And if someone believes that in something, then what's important for me is to support that in that person. If I'm truly out there wanting to honor my son's life, then I'm going to support people whatever method they use, whatever system that they have for staying connected. So important to support each other and to have options. So
That's beautiful. And I just want to say, going back to Joan, we used to have in-person meetings all over the country and the world. We are going to have those again. I am 100% sure. We just need to be able to make sure that everybody gets vaccinated. Irene and I were planning a conference. She's the director of our conference. We are 100% sure that that will happen as well, but we just have to wait until everything's safe for people to be able to. So I know that there will be a lot of opportunities for people to be doing things together through Helping Parents Heal as we move forward. But this is actually great because I was just saying to Irene today, we can attend every single affiliate leader meeting that we want to all over the country. And it's actually wonderful to be able to interact with different groups of people because none of the people in this group in this main group have to stay in their physical area for the affiliate meetings. They can go anywhere that they want to. And everyone welcomes everyone. And we're all one big family. And we have all gone through the same thing. We all understand. And that's the most important thing about a group like this, is that we can talk about things that we never talk about with our family and friends. Not that we wouldn't want to be able to, but I think that a lot of times they kind of feel like if they don't bring up our kids, we'll forget that we had them and we won't be sad. And it's completely the opposite. That's all we want to do, is to talk about our kids. So it really is a nice thing to be able to have that ability. But anyway, go ahead, Jon, tell a little bit more about the volunteer work that you do. So you do go to accident sites, you go to hospitals. What are some of the other locations that you go to when COVID is not an issue?
I've been to worksite accidents, fatalities. I've been to homicide scenes, home invasions. Do a lot of response work to human trafficking, sex trafficking, and victims of domestic violence. I've been to oceans where people have drowned. Um, I've been to the doctor's office when somebody, not a child, but an adult, passed away in the doctor's office. And before emergency services could get there, the spouse wanted someone to talk to.
So this is a service that is offered through San Diego in terms of the town itself, or is it a federal program that you're working with?
I work with a private nonprofit. It's all volunteer based. And in San Diego, along with other counties, there's different programs for different regions within San Diego.
Mhm.
There are some city sponsored. There are some organizations that work solely with law enforcement who they have contracts with and they get paid per call, so to speak. The organization that I'm with, none of us get paid with money. Um, so we're on call from law enforcement 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have volunteers that sign up for three 12-hour shifts per month. They've all gone through 40 hours of training initially. Um, so that's one of the actual things that I've grown to just love about being able to share Michael's story is that because we're volunteering our time to each other, the love just seems to come across much more purely to people who suffered a loss.
That's beautiful. I have a great question from Irene, and I'd love to hear it too. Is there a particular story where you feel you've made a difference in someone's life in your volunteer work that you could share with us?
Yes, I was several months ago, I responded to a call where a family had just lost a daughter. Um, the people I was talking to, there were four of them around the table. And I just went to hear what their story was. Um, and after there was a lot of difficulty in letting the four people not wanting to really open up with each other, as it turned out, um, what had happened 17 years ago is one of them had lost a son and had never had somebody stop by just to say, hey, I'm here, which is really all I do when I'm on a call. They had never had a chance to just tell their story without being interrupted or judged. And as soon as they started telling me about this, the four family members united in front of me. I could watch them. I could see them emotionally linking up with each other. They started running the meeting without me, which was so cool. Um, so yeah, it showed me just what an impact a caring listener can have on people. At the end of it, I got hugs from all four of these ladies, and they just said, this has changed their life. They never knew that somebody else was willing to listen and not tell them what to do, but just listen. So
That's beautiful. I agree. I think that it is one of the most important tools in terms of being able to help someone who's had a child pass is being able to listen. And I think a lot of people want to fix us. They want to tell us what's going to happen as we move forward, and they're going to tell us, things that we're supposed to do to be able to move forward and heal. But unless they've been through it, I think that it's very hard for them to have any idea of what we need to do. So what I always say to people who want to help their friends who have had a child pass is that the biggest thing that they can do is to give them a hug and say, I'm here for you. And unfortunately, we can only do half of that right now. But just knowing that someone is here for us, calling back repeatedly, because in the very beginning, a lot of us aren't able to even meet with or talk to anyone, but the repeated calls are something that are so important as well. Susan is asking, how does your family deal with the holidays at this point? How are the holidays for you, Jon?
it, I'm going to give you this best, straightest answer I can. It depends on the time of my life.
Yeah.
Normally, holidays, Christmas, Michael has accident 2 or 3 days after his birthday, which is December 2nd. So one of my last memories is a Christmas tree with presents underneath it that never got opened. So some holidays are normal, whatever normal are. This past Christmas just wasn't one of those times, so we didn't do a lot of decorating. It brings up a lot of emotions, a lot of memories, which I've learned and still learning and will for the rest of my life, learn how to deal with those emotions, uh, not try to block them out. Like you were talking earlier about externalizing. The emotions are mine. I'm a human being. So I let the emotions run through. I just make it a point not to dabble with the ones that are dangerous, the what ifs. I, so the holidays can be upsetting, but I'm an emotional person, and I've had to look at myself as a man, as an adult, and say, shedding some tears, that's good, it's healthy. So I handle the holidays and his birthday just as it comes up to me, and I don't try to box it up and decide how I'm going to react ahead of time.
That's really a good way to deal with it. Carrie is asking a very interesting question. Do you ever run into problems with language and cultural barriers when you're helping these people?
Yes, yes,
Do you work with translators, maybe?
yes, we have a tricultural team, which is right now English, Spanish, and I forgot the other language, but the people that come in from Iran, Iraq. We do have multiple sources that we can get translators. I carry around on my phone a language translator that at least helps me get through the basics until I can find out what language it is that the people primarily speak. And through our different resources, we will find someone who can communicate with a person needing help. So we never let language stop us. It may be something we stumble on for a couple of minutes, but we will find a way to communicate with people.
Well, I have someone asking how to get in touch with you. And Sajini, all you have to do is go on that Caring Listener link that I posted at the top. If you scroll down, I'll post it again at the end so that we'll be able to show that to you again. Also, I have many of the recommended books and have gotten so much from it all. Do you recommend any that is best for the best one to gift to someone after they have had a child pass? Are there any of yours on your reading list that you would recommend here?
I really don't have any that I recommend. I'm not a big reader.
Okay.
I mean, that's just, I do read different articles as long as they're non-biased and not pointing me in that this is what you have to do. So I've read a lot of books on different things, but no particular one stands out.
Well, I want to say that I think that a lot of people, when they are early on in grief, it's hard for them to actually read. Although some people go crazy and read, like Irene and I read about 80 books the first year, but it's not necessarily something that everybody can handle. So I wanted to say that, first of all, I think that these YouTube videos are always helpful to parents when they are going through this in the very beginning. I also think that that documentary that was done by Craig McMahon called Life to Afterlife, Mom, Can You Hear Me? Which is free on Amazon Prime, but it's also free on YouTube. And maybe Irene, if you could possibly put that in the sidebar, that's another thing that's easy for a parent to watch. And I know that a lot of parents have been helped by seeing the fact that parents actually do heal after this happens, that it is a possibility to move forward and heal. But there's a lot of books on our website as well. Just to let you know, Carrie is saying audiobooks are great too. So yeah, most of the books that you can find actually even on the website, which are recommended reading, are available on audiobooks. We have books by providers, and we have books that are written by Shining Light parents as well that are on there. And a lot of those books, parents and providers have come and talked about them as well, which is nice. So that's a beautiful story that you told, and so interesting to think that this had happened 17 years before, and that the family was so divided because of this, but then to have you come in when this happened again, they were able to unite, which is beautiful. Any other stories about healing that you've experienced when you were doing this work?
Oh gosh, I can tell you a story of them. It involves Misty. We were visiting the local children's hospital. We went into a room where there was a little girl. She's about 4 years old, suffering from extreme autism. Couldn't look around, couldn't focus on anything or anyone. Parents were there, so with their permission, I put Misty, who's all of 18 pounds of pure love, up on this little girl's bed. Um, Misty made her way over this little girl, went nose to nose with her for a couple of minutes. And again, with the parents' permission, I assisted this little girl in raising her hand and putting it on Misty's head. After a couple of minutes, this little girl all of a sudden was able to focus on Misty. And what I believe, a sign from my son, I saw a quick smile. And then all of a sudden, this little girl just let out with this cry. And I thought, oh my gosh. I looked at the parents, I said, did I do anything wrong? And they were both crying. And they said, no, that's how our daughter says that she's happy. And I'm about to lose it again telling you that story because it's so real.
That's beautiful.
Found that 90% of my ability to assist someone is the ability to listen 90% of the time.
That's probably the most important tool in all of our toolboxes for helping others, is being able to listen. And it's so underrated, unfortunately. Again, we get so much help from so many people who don't really necessarily know what they're talking about when this happens. So I'm so grateful to have you as a caring listener, and to be able to have you to speak to all of these parents. I just also wanted to let you know and recognize the other caring listeners who are on here. I'm a caring listener. I also do caring listening in French because that's my second language. Irene is a caring listener, and she's always available as well, along with all of her other many tasks. I am looking through here just to check to see if we have any other. We have some affiliate leaders on here as well, which is wonderful. Joyce is a caring listener, and I don't know if her screen is on. So I just want to recognize Joyce. Joyce, could you maybe just say a few words, introduce yourself? Can I unmute you so that people know that you're available? Can you unmute? Let's try again. There we go again. Still not working? There we go. Now you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Joyce. I live in Northeast Tennessee. I am the mother of 3 beautiful daughters, 2 of whom are in spirit. I lost my youngest daughter at age 2. She was a special needs child. And my oldest daughter passed in 2013. She was the victim of a homicide. But I find, and I haven't been a member of Helping Parents Heal for many years, but being able to give back and taking the time to talk to people and making connections has been so healing for me, because many families, and mine is one of them, you don't get an opportunity to talk about your children. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want you to get upset. They don't like to see you cry. But, tears sometimes are very healing. And I find that through a lot of the affiliate meetings that I go to Irene's chat with Kathy, And you're right, Elizabeth. If it wasn't for COVID, we wouldn't have an opportunity to spend time with everybody and to get to know people that probably we wouldn't have known before. But let me tell you, Jon, I love your stories about your therapy dogs. We have a couple dogs here that are honestly, they know every secret I have. And it's good to be able to talk to them and just kind of get those emotions out every once in a while.
Yes,
But
I feel
yeah.
so grateful that Joyce is a part of the Caring Listeners. And I also just want to very quickly recognize not only Joyce, Rhonda's beside her on my screen, and she is our affiliate leader for Houston. We also have Iris, who's on here from Boca Raton, although she's can't see her face, but she's on here. Doris Norwood is on here, and she is our on our board, and I'm so happy that she's here this evening, as well as, of course, here's Iris. There's Iris. Of course, Irene wears many hats, but we're all available to speak to. And I am so glad to have Jon, because having for all of you whose husbands might have a hard time speaking to a woman, we have him, we have Brian Smith, we have let's see, we don't have nearly as many men as Caring Listeners, so it's really wonderful to have Jon. But I have Jan saying, Jon, you are a very dear and kind man. Thank you for sharing your stories. They are so uplifting, from Jan. She's in Buffalo. And then I'm just wondering if I'm missing anybody. Some of these names are only first names, though, of the people who are helping here with Helping Parents Heal, because I feel so grateful to all of you. And I want all of you to know that it gets easier. But if you're having a hard time, we're here for you in more ways than one. Not just these meetings, not just these chats, but also this wonderful tool that's Caring Listeners. And Iris is saying, Jon, yes, you are such a wonderful, caring, inspiring person. And Gordine is saying, I'm glad that I attended this meeting, and thank you, Jon. So do you have some parting words for us, maybe, that you could talk to us about how the best tools and maybe the way that you have been able to move forward and heal, and lead us with that?
I think that the best, I'm a very visual person. I need to visualize things and take them out of the ethers and put them into, I like to box things up because they're nice and neat. They can be put away on a shelf and I can bring them down anytime. And I think what has helped me the most is to learn that I can't box how I feel about Michael. It's impossible. He lives, and life can't be boxed up. So I haven't limited myself to any one way of handling things. I haven't limited the types of emotions that I'm quote unquote allowed to feel after 30 years. So I've learned just to let things run free. My toolboxes can be music, different types of music. They can be going and working out physically, taking a walk, being with my wife, being with my dog. So the greatest tool that I have is, and my feedback to you, to everybody who's going through this, is don't box up anything. Let it flow the way that you need it to flow. It doesn't have to be compared to how someone else is handling it. What's important is how each of us handles it, that we have an outlet to give ourselves an even break. Happiness will return. It really will. A hard thing to say to people that are new to this, and even some of us that, I don't always have a great day, but I know happiness will return. Life will come back. Um, so that's really my biggest key for myself, is not to box things up and not to limit what I think I should or should not be doing.
Well, I just want to tell you, Iris is saying, John, yes, you are such a wonderful, caring, inspiring person. Andrea is saying, thank you, John, you inspire us. John, this was wonderful, from Joan. It helps to listen to you. Carrie is saying, thank you for sharing your story, John. Sandra is saying, thank you, John. Much love and light to all of you tonight. Beata is saying, I love this. What you just said is very much how I feel. I am always open to everything and trying to heal. And Rhonda is saying, thank you so much, John. Beautiful. So this has been wonderful. And one of the biggest things that I'm excited about is that people are going to know a little bit more about our caring listeners and hopefully utilize this tool, because again, it's free of charge. The phone numbers of our caring listeners are right on our site. They also have their email addresses. So if you feel uncomfortable about calling somebody or texting them, you can certainly email them. And we are here for you. That's, I think that one of the things that everyone needs to understand when you're reaching your hand out for help is that it's helping us even more than it helps necessarily the person who's reaching their hand out, because it feels so good to be able to show people and to let them know that they're going to be okay and that their lives are going to go on and that their kids are with them every step of the way. So please do reach out. And I thank you so much for being on here this evening, John. I truly appreciate it. We always make sure that everyone is able to unmute at the end of the meeting to say thank you and goodbye. So Irene, have you already done that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
wonderful.
everyone,
So
you can go ahead and unmute.
thank you, everyone. Please go
Thank
ahead.
you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank
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 you.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
being here,
John.
Doris.
Bye,
I'm so glad you're
Elizabeth.
I
here.
made it.
Yes, Doris, yay,
You
you're
did. We're so
here.
proud of you. And thank you, John. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yes.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye,
We'll
everybody.
definitely see you guys soon.
Soon.
Okay. Have a
Bye-bye.
wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.